Yo, what's up guys? You got PokeaimMD here, coach of the Bronx Beartics with my week 10, I believe, team builder of the P4G. We're taking on Chance, coach of the Camden Ursarings. Now, if you guys missed it, I actually uploaded my week 9 battle yesterday versus Nate. There was no team builder for that, but we do have a team builder for this week, and I explained why that video went up so late. But as you can see, his team is actually pretty threatening. PokeaimMD, Honchkrow in particular are extremely big threats to my team. Sucker Punch, Brave Bird, Steel Wing, the Tri-Attack, anything they can run. They're really big threats. Quagsire walls the physical portion of my team extremely well. And then he has Pokemon like Venusaur for T-Spikes, Cryogonal, which spins reasonably well versus me, and Alolan Raichu, which is really fast and has the move pool plus Z moves to do some damage versus me. But the first thing I noticed versus his team, and I want to give a big shout out to my boy Matty Brolick, we built together on this, was that Zygarde outspeeds everything. So Choice Band Zygarde is coming this week. Extreme Speed is a good check to a Scarf Porygon or a Weakened Porygon. It does 53 to 60 something percent to Honchkrow, so after Brave Bird, it can pick it off, allowing me to avoid Sucker Punch. And 1,000 Arrows deals with Arcanine, Cryogonal, Matuakeo's Venusaur, Raichu. Basically, everything on his team is either 2-KO'd or O-Code, and the only thing that's not, my throat kind of like, oh, I got a hoarse. The only thing that's not 2-KO'd is Quagsire, and even then, Outrage with Rock straight up 2-KOs it, so, because it's level 50. But yeah, Choice Band 1,000 Arrows really nice versus him. I have Sewer Power as my last move, as it hits Cryogonal plus Lileep plus Porygon Z for super effective damage, and it can actually knock all of them out. So that's why I wanted Sewer Power's last move. Outrage, Extreme Speed, 1,000 Arrows, all pretty standard right here. And yeah, basically Zygarde, extremely fast, hits extremely hard versus him, especially with support from Knockoff, which I do have. Incineroar, Chimpack is coming this week, and we're bringing Assault Vest Incineroar. Now, Assault Vest Max Spadef Incineroar checks Porygon, checks Cryogonal, checks Venusaur, checks Alolan Raichu, checks Mismagius, and with Intimidate can buffer a hit from Honchkrow, can take a hit from Arcanine and knock it off. Assault Vest and Intimidate means I take every hit from Quagsire, whether it be Earthquake or Scald, and I can knock it off. So I wanted to bring Assault Vest Incineroar this week, being able to sponge hits, a repeated switch into Pokemon like Mismagius. The fact that he has one Stealth Rocker, which is Lileep, which is not good versus me, considering the Pokemon I have like Hariyama, which just straight up threatens it, and how it's set up fodder for a lot of Mons as well on my team. Didn't think he'd bring it this week. But yeah, Fake Out, Knockoff, U-Turn, and Fire Punch. Fire Punch being there to help me check Cryogonal. Gives me a good hit versus Venusaur and a decent hit versus Honchkrow as well. But for the most part, I'm clicking Fake Out, I'm clicking U-Turn, I'm clicking Knockoff. Fake Out I like a lot because I think the chip damage, I do have T-Spikes on my team, even though he does have a Venusaur and a Cryogonal. I think the chip damage on Pokemon like Porygon and whatnot, or even maybe the damage might be the difference between me beating a Pokemon like Honchkrow with extreme speed. It could be really solid. So I just think it's a nice free turn, and chip is really important when your team does not take any hits from my dog. So post-mow it can put in a lot of work if I get just a little bit of damage off from Pokemon. So I think careful, max Spadef, near max HP, the rest is put into attack. And Knockoff is really nice support because Quagsire needs leftovers in order to take 1,000 Arrows from Zygarde after Rocks, guaranteed. And without it, man, Zygarde goes in. So Knockoff is really nice, just being able to, it's pretty much free versus Pokemon like Raichu. I'll take a +2, Focus Blast, Surf, whatever. I'll take I'll take a Z +1 attack from Porygon as well, adaptability boosted. And Porygon, like I said, is a giant threat versus my team, which is why we're bringing Spadef Diancie, the normal switching. We have Stealth Rock, Power Jump, Protect, and the last move is HP Grass. HP Grass is actually one that I added on recently. I couldn't decide between the last move. Diamond Storm was an option for beating Cryogonal. Toxic was an option for beating Cryogonal, Mismagius. Earth Power was an option that doesn't allow Raichu, plus Clang to set up on me for free. Clang could be a threat, but I think I have a reasonable amount of Pokemon for that Pokemon. It's not very strong after all. And I definitely wanted Power Gem, as that helps me deal with Honchkrow, and just gives me a good hit versus Magius, Arcanine, and whatnot, as is one of my initial switches to that. Protect helps me scout for Z moves, get a little bit more recovery, especially on Pokemon, especially because he doesn't have hazards. So like every single bit of leftovers I get back it's recovery that I'm going to have on Diancie for most likely the entirety of the game if I want to take another hit. So I decided on HP Grass in the last move because it guaranteed 2-hit KOs Quagsire. And as you guys see, besides Rose Raid, Quagsire can wall the entirety of my team just based on preview. It can actually wall the entirety of the physical side of my team. So I think that Diancie is a Pokemon that Quagsire would be safe, or would feel safe to fire off repeated Earthquakes versus, especially something like Curse Quagsire, like Curse, Earthquake, Waterfall / Ice Beam is just a giant threat in general versus me. So HP Grass is nice because it guaranteed 2-hit KOs it after leftovers recovery always. Does like 60-something%, and that puts it in range of Zygarde or in range of Tauros or anything like that. So that's why I decided on that as the last move. And leftovers over Berry I thought was better here because this allows it to switch in repeatedly to something like Porygon, switch in repeatedly to something like Cryogonal unless it's casting like Flash Cannon or nothing. It can even take a hit from Raichu if necessary, Miss Magus if necessary. And unless Porygon's like Z Solar Beam, which Count actually he didn't use it, but he built a team and it actually brought it to my attention. Another thing that was brought to my attention was Iron Tail on Porygon as well, which is pretty cool. So definitely some things I'll have to look out for when I use this Mon. But for the most part, this is a switch into Porygon, a switch into Arcanine, though it does have Iron Tail, so I have another better switch into Arcanine on my team, as you guys will see. And a switch into Honchkrow, and Protect helps me scout for that Z Steel Wing if he wants it, or Z All Out Pummeling. Anything like that. And just getting up the rocks is really nice versus him because he does have a spinner in Cryogonal, but it doesn't spin for free on Diancie because I do have super effective moves versus it, and it's more than likely not going to try and spin versus Diancie. But yeah, next up we have MV the Rose Raid. Now, we have enough speed for Venusaur, max speed Venusaur. We have enough speed for max speed Honchkrow. The 76 special attack lets me guarantee knockout Porygon from full HP with Z Poison, with Acid Downpour. As I said, I do have the Toxic Spikes because even though he does have Venusaur, I feel like Venusaur is kind of pressured by Pokemon like Incineroar, Pokemon like Zygarde, and my Tauros. And Rose Raid is an initial switch into... Rose Raid is a Pokemon that can switch in on Venusaur. It can switch in on Quagsire repeatedly. It can set up on Pokemon like Magus just because of its natural bulk, which is why I'm running max HP. The special attack also lets me knock out a max HP Venusaur with Sludge Bomb into Z Sludge Bomb. The roll is always in my favor for that. And I wanted Sludge Bomb plus Giga Drain. Again, Giga Drain is there to hit the Quagsire and basically everything else Sludge Bomb hits, except for Clang, but I do have some checks for Clang, like I said, as you guys will see the next Pokemon. And Sludge Bomb just hits his team pretty hard too, like 2 KOs Honchkrow, and besides Cryogonal and pretty much Clang, everything just does not appreciate Sludge Bomb, especially with rocks up. We are running Nax Cure this week, that way we can switch repeatedly on Quagsire Scalds, as well as one of the options on Diancie was Heal Bell, but I decided on this week that I would not bring that. Because I was, like I said, I was really paranoid about Quagsire, and I think it's more likely that Diancie can get off a Hidden Power Grass versus Quagsire, whereas you're not going to stay in with Quagsire versus Rose Raid for me to Giga Drain you. So that was the idea. I could have went max speed to speed tie with Porygon, but if I went max speed, I would have to forgo special attack investment or HP investment. And I think HP investment is really important when this is like an initial switch in or an always switch in to a Pokemon like Quagsire, and just allowing me to take on Miss Magius better with this Mon if I need to. Though this is my 100% Miss Magius switching. Even +2 Content of the Crush, which is Power Gem, does not knock out Incineroar with the Max Speed and Salt Vest. So yeah. Next up we have physically defensive Hariyama with Thick Fat. This is a Cryogonal switch-in, but more importantly a guaranteed Arcanine switch-in. I don't take anything. I have Rocky Helmet on this thing. I have Fake Out for a little bit of chip. Again, this could be really important with Poison. This could also be really nice versus Honchkrow. I'll explain a scenario in a second, but we have Fake Out, Knockoff, Close Combat, and Endure. Max Defense, Max HP. This is inspired by Endure Garchomp. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that back in 6th Gen, but it's a set that was ran. And basically the max defense allows me to repeatedly switch in on a physical Arcanine. I mean, I take special Arcanine as well. I mean, so does Diancie. But I can also guarantee Wall Clang. I can knock off Sliggoo, I Leap, I beat him down. Cryogonal as well because of my Thick Fat. And Knockoff is really nice again for supporting my dog for doing work versus Pokemon like Quagsire. But Endure is my last move because this is a scenario. And it's a very realistic scenario. So I have Honchkrow out versus Hariyama. I fake it out first, right? I get some chip off on it, and then I go for Endure next turn. If he goes for Brave Bird, the recoil and the Rocky Helmet knocks him out. It's It's beautiful. Or even in a situation if I bring in like my Hariyama on like a sewer power, for example, and I'm low enough to the point where he can knock me out with Brave Bird. If I go for Endure, he has to take double the turns of Rocky Helmet. So I thought it'd be really cool for chipping away at that. And the Rocky Helmet, again, is just nice in general for his physical mons and punishing them and putting them in range of dog. Like, for example, Stealth Rock plus Rocky Helmet is the difference between Zygarde knocking out... Zygarde still knocks out Arcanine even through Intimidate, or with Intimidate. So that was like the idea, and I just like the fact that Endure just gave me a little bit more of a check to Honchkrow. Honchkrow can definitely be a check with a Moxie boost, and I feel like I'm pretty good versus it. Fake Out, I have double Fake Out, which outspeeds Sucker Punch. I have Extreme Speed, which outspeeds Sucker Punch, and then I have Rocky Helmet plus Endure to help me check it a little bit more. And I also have Sub Tauros to avoid a Sucker Punch. So substitute Tauros, I thought it'd be a pretty good bring this week. Life Orb, Sheer Force, Tauros, Body Slam just hits his team really hard with T-Spike up or even a little bit of chip damage. Quagsire is 2-hit KO'd. Earthquake is nice there for a Alolan Raichu, which I do speed tie with, which is why I'm running Jolly Nature. And Iron Head smacks Cryogonal, smacks Lileep, and it also gives me a good hit versus Miss Maggie. It's a guaranteed 2-hit KO as it always. And if Miss Maggie's took a little bit of chip damage, I might actually even knock it out. So with Sheer Force, it's really hard. And again, I thought that sub would be the best because it's the best way to avoid the mind games with Sucker Punch, right? Like Tauros is for the most part always going for an attack. So sub allows me to avoid Sucker Punch, and Body Slam does like 98% minimum to Honchkrow. So, and chances are Honchkrow took damage. I mean, I have Rocks, I have Fake Out on multiple Mons. If you Brave Bird in my Rose Raid, you're taking recoil. So, yeah, it just gives me some more of an insurance versus it. But yep, that's the team for this week. The battle goes up tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern, and yeah, if you guys want to check out the battle versus Nate as well, feel free to let me know your guys' thoughts on the squad, and I will see you guys next time. Goodbye, my friends.